Welcome back to Urban Traditionalists. A bit of a unique video today. I have a lot of sort of musings and thoughts going around in my head right now. I just thought I'd film it. If I posted it, then miracles happened because this might be even for my own sort of verbal processing. But I just wanted to share some thoughts that I've just been kind of mulling over in my brain here. It's mid-August and the garden is just exploding with everything. And then I've had like crazy overwhelm the last, couple weeks. And it's just that sense of like everything is ready right now. And I know that that's harvest and that's normal. But this year is different because I've never grown a garden this big before. Not only that, but we did chickens this year and we did meat birds this year twice. And yesterday we harvested all of our meat birds. We did a video on that. And it was just like this accumulation of everything yesterday. Like we spent hours harvesting. Good morning. Harvesting all the meat birds, and that just took a lot of time and effort. It definitely felt a lot more seamless this time, like we knew what we were doing, and which felt really good. There was a really like good feeling to that, like, oh, like we're making progress, like we're learning, like this is awesome. But then it was like just immediately I thought about 7 other things that needed doing, like all the cabbage I have some cabbage even right here that's just getting eaten, which is just a little bit out of shot. I'm having this panic of like, we need to pull the cabbage out before the rodents eat it, and we need to pull the beets out because the rodents are eating them and they're getting huge, and we need to make sauerkraut and we need to make borscht, and the carrots are getting big and I need to pickle the carrots and I should probably pickle more beets, and oh my goodness, the beans are dying and I need to pull the beans off. And like earlier in the month it was like the broccoli is all going to seed and bolting because it's too hot, and you're probably getting stressed out listening to me say this list. And even right now I glance and I see all my spinach here that's just getting huge, and I'm like, oh, I should dehydrate some more spinach. And we pulled like, I have over 40 zucchini that I harvested this year, and I did zucchini relish, 3 rounds of zucchini relish and zucchini marmalade, and then we spiraled a bunch of it. I dehydrated crazy amounts of it, and it's just like this is what I want. Like this is the life I want. I want this homesteading life. I want this self-sufficient life. And then you also panic because you have it, and you want to do it well, and you want to steward it well, and then you're panicking because you feel like you're failing because you've got lettuce bolting, and you've got broccoli going to seed, and you've got cauliflower essentially rotting because you're not getting to it in time. The rodents are eating your cabbage and your beets, and it's like you just feel like you're failing. And it's hard to fail at what you love. And I love food preservation. I'm loving learning how to garden. I'm loving this homesteading life that we're just barely tapping into. Like we just rent this. This is just a little piece of land on our landlord's property, and we're just barely getting into it, right? Like we want to do this on a larger scale. We want 5-10 acres, and it was just this overwhelm yesterday of like failing at what I want to do. And I'm not even failing, really. Like Rhett and I talked about it, and we went for a drive just to the gas station and got an iced tea, and I calmed down a bit and what have you. But it's like I'm not failing. I'm stretching, and it's hard, but it's not failure. It's learning, and it's a process. But I follow a lot of homesteading channels. I follow a lot of homesteading Instagrams, and everyone's perfect, right? Everyone's perfect. Their videos are perfect, their gardens are perfect, their photos are perfect, their canning shelves are immaculate. But like I will say I don't see many people talking about this side of it. You might get it every now and again. They might talk about like a pest infestation they had, or like their sauerkraut not turning out, or their peppers not turning out because it was too wet or something. But like there's a real emotional process to this, because there's this like innateness of knowing that like this is what we're meant to do as humans, this is what we were created for, was to like cultivate the earth and to manage God's creation. Like that's what he made us for, was to like rule over his creation and steward it. And so there's like this crazy high expectation I have of myself that I should know how to do all this. And then you're doing it and it's amazing, and then all of a sudden you're like like I'm failing at all of it, you know? And it's like, it's just very emotional. I had a very emotional day yesterday about it. And I feel like this is an important side to share, because I think like every single person, whether you have, you know, the immaculate mason jar shelf or the Instagram worthy carrots, or right, you're walking around and you're like brimmed hat and sundress, and like it all looks like a magazine, but it's emotional and it's hard, and you really want to do it well, and some days you just don't feel like you're doing it very well. And like we work full time too, right? Like Rhett has a full-time job. He's a contractor, works in construction. Like I have a full-time job at a health clinic where I do office management and administration. We do this on the side. I am also going back to school this year, so I'm doing like a distance education program. And I said to Rhett, I'm like, I have 3 full-time jobs right now. I have like my actual job, my 9 to 5, you know, as they call it. I have the homesteading job, which is growing food and food preservation, which is a full-time job every year, and now I'm going to school. Like it's full-time, like it's a full-time course, but because it's distance, I can kind of fit it where I can fit it. And I just had this moment yesterday of like, oh my gosh, like how the heck are we going to get all this done? And you know, there's this huge pressure. Oh, and then there's the YouTube channel, right, which we've added this year as well. And so there's this huge pressure of myself. When I say huge pressure, it's all me putting this pressure on me, but there's this huge pressure to like film everything, right, and then edit it and make it look good, so we have videos going out weekly so that our channel can grow, because the only way to grow your channel is to be consistent. And there's just this big pressure to like film everything. And yesterday, after like my breakdown and then my iced tea and the drive home, you know, Rhett was like, you just got to do the first thing in front of you, and then you do the next thing in front of you, and the next thing, and then at the end of the day you look back and you see what you did, but like in the moment you're only doing the one thing. And so we decided to do the sauerkraut and the borscht today, so I spent the morning prepping that. But yesterday I harvested it all. I harvested not even half of our cabbage and beets, but I harvested them. And then I was like, oh, I should be filming this. And then I just felt like God be like, no, like you're missing it. Like you need to enjoy this. Like you've worked hard for this, and I don't want you filming it. And so I just like put everything aside yesterday and came into the garden and just like smelled the earth, you know, and like felt it in my fingers and pulled the veggies out and just admired like every beet that came out and the cabbages we were getting. And I was like, we're doing it. Like we're not failing. Like we're doing it. And I filled like a 5-gallon pail full of beets. I pulled out 5 cabbage heads, pulled out a bunch of carrots, didn't do a ton of them, and just reconnected. Just like took a moment and reconnected with like what we're doing here in the garden, and it felt really emotional. I feel like I could cry again thinking about it. But yeah, you know, like homesteading it's not easy, right? Like we look at this as the simple life, and it's anything but simple, right? You know, you're battling weather, you're battling pests, you're battling you know, your climate and what you can and cannot grow, and you grow things that maybe you shouldn't grow, and the wind pushes your phone around, it makes it look really wobbly, and then you're dealing with like how to preserve it, right? Like we could never eat all of this fresh, and that was one of my biggest beefs in July and early August, was like, we're not even eating this, like we're growing all this amazing food, and we can't even keep up with it. Like I'm pulling food and putting in the fridge to eat, and then we're not getting around to it, and it's like it's not rotting, but it's going soft in the fridge, and you could never keep up with this. So then you're dealing with the preservation of all of it, right? And I love it. It's hard. It is hard. And I'm sorry my phone is blowing around, but that is what it is. It just is what it is. And it's an emotional process, you know, like Brett said to me yesterday. I said to him, like, We ordered sushi for dinner of all things, right? Like gorgeous garden. Then we ordered sushi, but we'd spent the whole morning processing chickens. We did not feel like eating chicken, and we just didn't have it in us to make dinner. So we're eating sushi, and I'm putting the sushi on my plate, and I'm like, why are we such emotional beings? Like, why is this so emotional? Like, why does everything have to be so emotional? And then Brett was like, well, we're emotional people. Like, we process with our emotions. And that was me yesterday. I can't even believe, that I'm like sitting here right now and like I've got chickens back there and a gorgeous garden over here and like a stunning view over there and like an amazing pantry inside. When I think back a year ago or 2 years ago, like this felt like a pipe dream. This felt like a pipe dream. And it feels like a pipe dream to look ahead and think about 5 acres or 10 acres that we get to own and manage. But I mean, if this felt like a pipe dream 2 years ago, there's no reason why we can't be there 2 years from now, right? And I always appreciate honesty. I like it when people share the tough part of the journey and not just the glory Instagram photos of the after fact. But like I feel really grateful for this opportunity. I'm really happy that like God has entrusted us with this piece of land to steward a bit more creation. And it all kind of hit me yesterday, just the overwhelm of it all and feeling like I'm failing at it, right? And as I already mentioned, like to fail at something you don't really care about is no big deal, whatever, I'll catch the next one. But to fail at I'm not failing, to feel like you're failing at like your dream is just really hard, right? And we're doing it though. We're doing good. I have sauerkraut starting in the kitchen. Never done sauerkraut before. Who knows, that could fail. It's all a learning experience. We're doing borscht tonight. Gonna pressure can that. Probably not gonna film any of it because sometimes you just gotta be in the moment and you just gotta let something go. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with where you're at, right? You can only do what you can do. And for me right now, doing what I can do is about just being in the moment sometimes and being with this, right? Just being with it and enjoying it. Like yesterday, like you forget to like stop and just let the therapeutic process of gardening like get into your soul, right? And I needed that reconnect, right? Like that when we have anxiety and fear and when we panic, like we're disconnected, right? You're disconnected and you like lose your why. You sort of lose perspective. And yesterday, being in the garden, just me harvesting. Rhett was on the deck, like breaking down the chickens, and I was in the garden, and I just had to like pause and be like, look at us, like look at this, like this is incredible, right? And that was a reconnection. I was reconnecting with like what God's given us and what we're able to do here, and the things we have managed well and what we are managing to do well. And it just was just sort of like settled you down, right? So yeah, I'm probably not going to film any of our processing for borscht and cabbage. We'll do that next year, this is it. This is our life now. So lots of opportunity for that. I just felt like kind of getting some of my thoughts out there, verbal processing some of my thoughts. And I hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing here. I hope you're learning something. We wanted to do a YouTube channel because we've really learned so much from YouTube videos ourselves. Like there's a lot of YouTube channels that Rhett has been following for 10 or more years. And eventually you just got to go, wait, we can do that. Like we can do that too. We can do that. They're doing it. We can do it. And so that's kind of what this is about. It's like we just want to be part of that community. We just want to be part of that larger, YouTube community that's sharing their lives, sharing what they're doing, and sharing the hard stuff, being like, hey, we're struggling too, and but it's okay because there's lots of things that we are doing really well. And like if we can do it, guys, you can do it, right? Oh, my phone cut out because it was getting too hot. So I let it cool off for a second. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. The other thing I kind of wanted to make note of actually that just sort of came to me as well was like God is really communicating to me that there is enough. There's just enough. There's always exactly enough. And an example of that is every time I can something, every time I preserve something, even the sauerkraut today, like when I put it in the jars, it literally filled exactly the jars. And usually when you can something, there's like half a jar left over and you stick it in the fridge, or you give it to a friend or something, or and that you just use that right away. I literally had that happen 0 times. Every time I can something, it literally fills exactly all the jars. And yeah, I feel like God's really been communicating that to me. That was something he started communicating to me when I went and got fireweed, actually. And I'm just sort of seeing it as a pattern that there's always enough, and it's exactly how much you need all the time. And that that whole scarcity mindset of feeling like you're failing and having to throw stuff out and like there won't be enough and so you have to use it all, like I feel like God is really challenging my thinking around that right now, and just learning to rest in him and his enoughness and all of that. Anyway, that's the rest of everything I wanted to say for now. Hope you guys have a good day.